What is international law and how do you explain it in simple English? In this legal English class, we will talk about countries, borders, and treaties. You will learn how to use basic legal vocabulary and grammar like there is and there are to describe legal ideas clearly and confidently. Perfect for lawyers, students, and legal staff just starting their English journey. And this is a part of our full legal English course for lawyers and legal professionals. If you want access to all the lessons, plus community support and practice, join us in our school community. The link is in the description. Here is what we will learn today. First, we will learn important vocabulary, words like country, border, law, treaty, and international. Then, we will practice using there is and there are, phrases that help us talk about things that exist. Finally, we will make simple definitions using is and are, like a country is a place or borders are lines between countries. This will help you talk clearly about international law basics. Let me tell you a little story to get us started. Last week, two countries had a problem. There was a river between them, and both wanted to use it for fishing. People were getting upset. The government said, "We need a new law." So, what did they do? They made a treaty, a legal agreement between two countries. Now, there is a clear law. There is peace. The border is safe again. That's what international law is about, solving problems between countries with rules, borders, and agreements. Now think, have you ever seen a border? Do you know the name of a treaty? Can you think of a country that has many international laws? Listen to a few of these sentences. There is a treaty between two countries. A border is a line between nations. International law helps resolve problems between countries. That's the world we're stepping into today. International law in simple English. Let's start with the word country. A country is a piece of land with clear borders and its own government. The government makes laws for the people who live there. For example, Costa Rica is a country in Central America. Imagine you live in a country. You follow the rules made by your government. Every country is different, but all have a government and borders. Next word, border. A border is a line that separates two countries. It shows where one country ends and another begins. For example, the border between the United States and Canada is very long. You can think of a border like a fence or a wall. It tells you where you can and cannot go without permission. Borders are very important in international law. Now, let's talk about law. A law is a rule made by a government. People must follow laws to keep order and safety. For example, traffic laws help keep drivers safe. Without laws, people might not know what to do or what is right or wrong. Every country has its own laws. Treaty. A treaty is a special agreement between two or more countries. When countries sign a treaty, they promise to work together or follow certain rules. For example, countries sign treaties to work together and keep peace. Treaties are very important in international law because they help countries solve problems without fighting. International. This means something that includes more than one country. For example, the United Nations is an international organization. International law is the law that countries follow when they work together. So, international means between countries. Finally, let's learn the word government. The government is the group of people who make laws and rules for a country. They also help keep the country safe and organized. For example, the government makes laws and, in theory, helps keep people safe. Without a government, the country would not work well. The government helps the country run smoothly. Here's your first challenge. What do we call the line that separates two countries? Let's imagine this. A lawyer is helping a client who crossed from one country into another without permission. The issue, the client crossed the border, that legal line between countries. Every country protects its borders, and crossing one often requires a passport or visa. That invisible line, like you heard it, it's called a border. Think about this. Who creates the laws in your country? Who decides the rules about taxes, education, or public safety? That's the government, a group of leaders, often elected, who organize how a country works. In legal English, when we talk about government, we're talking about the people and ministries who make up and enforce the law. Let's look at a basic question. What do you call a rule that tells what people can or can't do, like driving speed limits or paying taxes? That's a law, a rule made by the government to protect order, safety, and justice. For example, if someone breaks a law, they might go to court. That's how legal systems work. Here's a useful one. Countries often have conflicts, but instead of war, they talk. And when they agree on rules or plans, they sign a treaty. For example, imagine two countries want to protect the ocean between them. They sign a treaty to share fishing rights and protect the environment. In international law, treaties are serious. They create legal obligations between countries. Last challenge. What word do we use when something involves more than one country? The answer is international. For example, we say international law when countries agree to follow the same rules about trade, the environment, or human rights. The word international is used all the time in legal English because lawyers often deal with cross border or global matters. In today's class, we are going to learn two very important phrases: there is and there are. We use there is when we talk about one thing or person. For example, there is a country called Costa Rica. Imagine you see a map and you point to one country. You say, there is Costa Rica. There is Panama. You can also say, there is a border between two countries. When you look at the line that separates two countries, that is one border. Or, there is a law that protects the environment. One important rule or law. Now, when we talk about more than one thing, we use there are. For example, there are many countries in the world. Think about all the countries on the map. There are many. Or there are two borders near Costa Rica. There is more than one border here, one with Panama and one with Nicaragua. And there are many laws to keep people safe. Many laws, not just one. So, if you talk about one thing, say there is. If you talk about more than one thing, say there are. Let's practice together. Say after me. There is a country. There are many countries. There is one law. There are several laws. Using there is and there are helps us talk about what exists or is present in a simple and clear way. Let's practice using there is and there are with real examples. Listen closely and say the sentences with me out loud. There is a treaty between countries. We use there is because treaty is singular, just one. Next, there are two borders near my country. Now we use there are because we're talking about two borders, plural. Here's another one. There is a law to keep people safe. Only one law, so we say there is. And finally, there are many countries in the world. Many means plural, so we say there are. Practice these again by making your own sentences. It's a great way to describe the world around you using legal vocabulary. Let's learn the phrase across borders. This means something that goes between countries. For example, when companies sell products to other countries, trade happens across borders. Imagine a truck carrying coffee from Costa Rica to the United States. The coffee moves across borders. Make an agreement. When people or countries decide something together and promise to do it, they make an agreement. For examples, countries may make an agreement to protect the environment or help each other. This helps keep peace and cooperation. Here's a simple one. Follow the rules. To follow the rules means to obey the laws or instructions. In international law, all countries must follow the rules so they can live and work together peacefully. Just like in school, if everyone follows the rules, it's easier to get along. Let's learn the phrase sign a treaty. When countries write a promise on paper and officially agree, they sign a treaty. For example, many countries signed a treaty to protect the oceans and sea life. This is a very important way countries work together. Next phrase, peaceful solution. This means solving problems without fighting or war. Countries often want a peaceful solution when they disagree about borders or trade. Finding a peaceful solution is good for everyone. Finally, the phrase international community. This means all the countries in the world working together. For example, the international community helps when there's a big problem like climate change or disasters. It shows how countries can cooperate to solve big challenges. Now, let's talk more about international law. International law is a set of rules and agreements that different countries agree to follow. These rules help countries work together peacefully. For example, if two countries have a disagreement about borders or trade, international law helps them find a solution without fighting. It's like when friends make rules to get along and play nicely. Countries need rules too, so they can live in peace and cooperate on big problems like protecting the environment or helping out during disasters. So international law is very important because, in theory, it helps keep peace and order between countries around the world. Let's finish with a story about Costa Rica and international law. Costa Rica is a country with clear borders. There are two borders, one with Nicaragua and one with Panama. These borders show where Costa Rica ends and its neighbors begin. Costa Rica has laws to protect its beautiful environment, like the forests and rivers. These laws help keep nature safe for everyone. The country also signs treaties. That means Costa Rica makes agreements with other countries to work together. For example, Costa Rica and many countries signed a treaty to protect the oceans and wildlife. In international law, all countries must follow the rules. This helps keep peace and good relationships between countries. When there is a big problem, the international community, all the countries working together, help find a peaceful solution. So, Costa Rica shows us how countries use international law to live peacefully and protect our planet. Great job today. Keep practicing, and soon you'll talk about international law like a pro. Before we finish, let's review what you learned. First, we learned important words for talking about international law, like country, border, law, treaty, and international. We also talked about government, the group that makes laws in a country. Then we practice using there is and there are. Remember, there is for one thing, and there are is for many things. These phrases help us say what exists or is present. Next, we made simple definitions using is and are to explain ideas clearly. For example, a country is a place with borders, and laws are rules people follow. Finally, we learned useful phrases like across borders, make an agreement, follow the rules, sign a treaty, peaceful solution, and international community. These help us talk about how countries work together in international law. Great work, keep practicing, and you'll get better and better. We know that learning legal English as a beginner is difficult, so join our school group for easy lessons, live webinars, and a supportive forum, and start speaking legal English confidently. Link is in the description.